You're welcome back, and let's settle now for the details. Of course, we are live on X Spaces, on YouTube, and of course on Facebook. How much of currency do you place on the info analytics pool on the NPP presidential race, plus other position up for grab in the national executives? Share your thoughts with us on X Spaces, on YouTube, on Facebook. Now, former Vice President Dr. Bawumia has emerged as a clear front-runner in the race to lead the opposition New Patriotic Party into the 2028 general elections, according to a new poll by Global Info Analytics released on August 21, 2025. Now, the survey shows Dr. Bawumia commanding 52 support among NPP delegates ahead of the party's presidential primaries, giving him a decisive edge over his rivals. His closest challenger, however, though, is former Asin Central MP Kennedy Ohinejikum, trailing far behind with 17%. Other aspirants fared poorly, with Brianna Champon polling 3%, former Education Minister Dr. Yaozi Adichum 1%, and former General Secretary of the party, Kwamnaja Yepom, also trailing in that particular order. And we've got the results. I'm just going to walk you through briefly. So the question that was asked, should there be a wholesale party leadership change? 30% of those they spoke to agreed, 48% disagree. They are not in favor of a wholesale change of the leadership of the NPP. 22% says they are neutral. They are yet to decide as to what will happen. The other question they asked, do you believe that the NPP can win the 2028 elections? 93% says yes, 5% says no, and 2% they have no opinion regarding the chance of the NPP in the 2028 election. Now, the other question, remember, the party will also be electing party executives, national executives shortly. And the race for General Secretary is heating up. But according to Info Analytics, it's clearly becoming a one-man show with Justin Kudia Frimpong, the incumbent General Secretary, according to the opinion poll, leading by 44%, followed by Dr. Charles Dramina, who currently is the National Treasurer of the NPP, trailing by 2%. There's also Sylvester Tete, former MP, at 3%. There's Eugene MP, former Member of Parliament for Subin in the Ashanti region, at 4%. Isaac Esiama is also a former Member of Parliament for Akuman Webiaja, also in the Ashanti region, also doing 3%. There's also the former Member of Parliament for Bantama in the Ashanti region, and former EPA boss Henry Kwabena Kukufu doing 6%, and of course 2% they are someone else, and those who are yet to decide as to who to vote for stood at 36%. So clearly, Justin Kudia Frimpong is in the commanding. The other position that we are looking forward to be fiercely contested is the position of national chairman of the party. Remember that the incumbent chairman doesn't appear to be, nursing his boot for a race. So therefore, the race is quite very much open. And we've got a former general secretary of the NPP, John Bodu, who was also the executive director of SIGA in the Akufo-Addo administration, in the last part of the administration. And according to the polls, according to the respondents, 32% says they would vote for John Bodu to become the next national chairman of the NPP. Now, Benedict Chibo is currently the Ashanti regional chairman of the NPP, also not chairman, Wontuem, and he is also interested in this particular point. He wants an elevation from Ashanti region to the national scale. And he is doing 23% according to the Info Analytics pool. Stephen Asamoah Boateng is a former Member of Parliament, a former Minister for Chieftaincy in the Akufo-Addo administration. And he is doing just 6% in the pools of those who responded to who should be the next chairman of the NPP. Now, Kwesi Amoah-Akwanta is also a former Member of Parliament, a former Roads Minister, doing just 2%. And of course, former Ghana's ambassador to China, former SIGA boss, Edward Wharton, also doing 2%. And then someone else 1%. Those who are yet to decide who should vote for 34%. So clearly you can say that even though John Bodu is in a comfortable lead according to the results of the poll, there's a chunk of individuals who are yet to decide who to vote for in the chairmanship. Now the elephant in the room is who will lead the NPP in the 2028 election. The Congress to do that is fixed for January 2026. So we've got just, 5 months to go for the delegates of the party to decide who should lead them. Now, in the lead, as far as the Info Analytics pool is concerned, is the former vice president who also led the party in the 2024 elections, Dr. Bawumia, doing 52%. Now, the person who is closely monitoring him or closely following him is the former Member of Parliament for Asen North, Kennedy or Henry Japan, doing 17%. Everybody accepts the fact that it's going to be a close call between Kennedy Japan and Dr. Bawumia. But the picture we are seeing clearly depicts, a one-man race, if you like, and Dr. Bawumia is in the lead, according to opinions of individuals sampled by the Info Analytics. There's also the former Food and Agricultural Minister, Member of Parliament for Abetifi in the Eastern Region, Dr. Brandon Champo, with 3%. There's also Honorable Yao Seli, Member of Parliament for Bosumtwi in the Ashanti Region, former Education Minister, doing 1%. Kwabena Japan recently launched his campaign, and he is a former General Secretary of the NPP, 0. Also is Boakye Jaku, we thought was going for the national chairmanship of the party. It's unclear when he decided to run for the presidential race of the NPP. So this is quite interesting. Yet he's just doing 0%. Of course, a known face on the ballot of the NPP presidential race is the former Member of Parliament for Bampon in the Ashanti Region, Honorable Francis Adainibo, doing just 0%. And those who are yet to decide who to vote for is just 18%. So even if you want to add the 18 to the other 6 contestants, that's according to Info Analytics, they will still come nowhere near Dr. Bawumia. So I wish to just close shop and go home because it's already a done deal matter. This is what the individuals are saying, the Info Analytics. And this afternoon, we want to spend time to analyze. Now, this obviously is a morale booster for the camp of the former Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, and clearly a wake-up call for the other contestants. But with just 5 months to go for the Congress to elect a flag bearer for the NPP, can the gap be closed? Now, I'll be joined in the studio soon by the spokesperson for Kennedy Japan campaign, Kwesi Kwarteng, former spokesperson for the Education Ministry. But also joining me via Zoom is Professor Ezekiel Norte, Associate Professor with the Department of Statistics and Actuarial Science, University of Ghana. We'll also be joined via Zoom by the founder and executive director with the UP Institute, Dr. Razak Kwejo Poku, who these gentlemen have joined me via Zoom. So, gentlemen, Prof. and Doctor, good afternoon. Welcome to the Pulse.
Good afternoon, Etienne. Long time.
Right. So,
good afternoon also.
Great, Prof. So let me start with you, Prof. And Razak, you are pointing holes in the figures put out there by the Info Analytics. I'll allow you to walk us through these figures. But first, let me find out from Prof. So, Prof, this is what Info Analytics says, is the outcome of the polls that they conducted in some selected constituencies, putting Dr. Bawumia ahead of the other 6 contestants. Now, if I'm in a camp of Dr. Bawumia, should I assume that it is a done deal? I should just go home and sleep because it's already won?
Not exactly so. Polls are supposed to unearth what the people think and what they expect the polls to go. In fact, I walked through his methodology and I realized that it's all not foolproof unless he provides better and further particulars. For example, I know that he stated that he used CATI. CATI has some advantages, but it has some disadvantages as well. For example, the advantage is it ensures representativeness of the sampling, where every individual in the sample has a calculable non-zero chance of being included. In addition, it reduces interviewer bias. So it means that it's the computer that is going to do almost everything for you. And it's the computer that calls the shot and not the interviewer. And then thirdly, it's faster in terms of data capture. It's very fast and you have very few errors. And finally, there is a built-in mechanism for CATI so that whoever is monitoring the process could have some check-ins. The supervisors could have some check-ins. So it's good, but it has some disadvantages.
Right.
And let me walk you through few of them. It requires good software and training. So you should be a bit innovative in terms of the software you're going to use and then the training to capture the data. Then 2, it increases non-response rate. In fact, you are using telephone. People are apathetic to phone calls that are anonymous. So, for instance, he sees the call, he doesn't know who is calling, will just ignore it. So, it could increase the non-response rate. It also has coverage issues. For instance, people without phone, not to say that majority of them don't have phones, but people without phones at that particular instant. For instance, my phone is off or my phone is spoiled. Over that period, you cannot access me. So it has coverage issues as well. But it's a good way of gathering data. I look at the methodological issues from what he has done, and I let me just walk you through. He stated a confidence level of 99%.
Right.
It's quite high, it's good. And with a margin of error of 2.44%. So this tool should inform the sample size computation. And everyone who has been tutored in statistics, basic statistics, would understand that the sample size can be computed based on the margin of error and the confidence level and the proportion of interest. So when you put that out, that should lead you to a sample size of 2,787.
Right.
However, I saw that he considered 2,656, which is short of 131 respondents. It's quite close, so I will not hit him too hard on that. That's okay. It means that using that sample size, which is smaller than what is expected, with what he said he used, could have some influence over the responses, but just 131 respondents.
Right. So
yes.
in view of this, Prof, I mean, looking at the track record of Info Analytics and the fact that in the last day they appear to have gotten the prediction right, but you have concerns with some aspect of this work. It doesn't negate the fact that this may actually be the aspiration of those who will be voting in January.
Yeah, so like I said, I was quick to add that though there is a shortfall, it was quite close to what he was supposed to use. So I will not hit him too much on that. I will not hit him too much on that. And then from the work itself, I have a bit of a problem. You see, when you are gathering poll data, it must reflect the demographics of the actual data.
Right.
Okay. I saw that the gender is highly weighed in favor of males than females. I don't know their delegates, so I may not be able to talk about this. However, if he had ensured that and used a weighting mechanism that will reflect that, so that the gender issues would be, the male-female divide would be eliminated, that would enhance the results. Otherwise,
the gender, I mean, does it have any impact?
Well, it does. For instance, if the females were underrepresented in the sample, and most of the females are of the opinion that a particular candidate should go, it will have an effect. You understand?
Right, Prof.
It will have an effect. And then also the regional balance. If the regional balance do not reflect the sizes of the delegates in the individual regions or constituencies, that could also have a tolling effect on the responses. So if he had assured that and he had used a weighting mechanism, that would ensure that all these things have been taken care of. I have no problem with the outcome.
All right, Prof, I'll come back to you, and perhaps you can look at the candidates involved, Dr. Bawumia getting a chunk of it, the others struggling to catch up, and what can they do within the next 5 months to catch up or possibly overtake the Dr. Bawumia. Mr. Kwasi Kwarteng is here with me in the studio, but let me bring in Dr. Razak Kojo-Poku. He is a founder and executive director of the UP. Dr. Poku, you have put up a social media post. I mean, question the numbers. If you can help us understand why you think that this cannot be relied upon 100%.
Thank you very much, Etienne, for the opportunity. I think that Prof has done serious justice to the methodology and other technicalities, so I won't bother to go there. If you look at the publication that was done by MyJobOnline.com on the 21st August 2025, exactly 10:42 p.m., it was indicated that 10% of the delegates are those who have decided to, they are undecided. Right. 10% of them is undecided. And 9% have declined not to disclose who they are going to vote for. But if you look at the chart that you presented, the undecided, it is 18%. And those who have not decided or those who haven't disclosed where they stand is 9%. It doesn't tally with the publication that you did on your website. And I also watched the discussion killing yesterday on Channel 1 TV. And what was presented to us on that TV is subsequently published by City Newsroom Online, which is owned by CTFM. It indicated that 10.7% of the delegates are undecided, and 9% have decided they haven't decided where they stand. So clearly, there's some highest level of inconsistency. Are we going by the 10.7% undecided, 9% not being disclosed where they stand, or we are going by the 18% that you just shared? And even on your website, the story itself doesn't tell you with the chart that has shown it here. So that's a kind of inconsistency that I was raising, that perhaps maybe there's a problem or there's a challenge with the analysis of the data, that they need to have a critical look at the data, because this is an information which is a public domain. What was discussed on your sister station, subsequently published on City Newsroom website, and your website doesn't tally with the chart. So where lies the inconsistency? But that was what I was.
But my summary of what you have done comes to around 95.7%.
Yeah. So when you base on,
yes, and I asked whether the 4.3% that is outstanding will have any significant.
Yeah, that one is hypothetically. You know, he initially gave 3 of the aspirants 0 the data that he was using. So without the 1% to each of the 3 candidates that were given 0%, when you add the total sum, it's 92.7%. So where is the 7.3%? And even hypothetically, you decide to give Kwabena 1%, Boakye Agyarko 1%, and Adedimo 1%. When you tally all of them together, it will end up to 95.7%. So where is the 4.3%? So there's a kind of inconsistency regarding the chart that was presented to us, subsequently published by your website and City Newsroom website.
But as a political watcher, what do you make of this? You think this is a fair representation? This is what is likely to happen in January 2026?
Sincerely, I doubt the credibility and integrity of the data that was presented to us by Global Info Analytics.
But the track record of Global Info Analytics will tell you that you cannot wish this away.
it doesn't matter the track record. Before Musa Dankwa, Ben Efson was doing it, and sometimes he had it wrong. All of us can attest to that as a fact. So the fact that you have a track record doesn't mean that subsequently all your research will be on point or will be in alignment with your track record. I think that politics, when it comes to voting decision, it's a second change of mind.
Right.
The reason the delegates that he interviewed decided to endorse Bawumia, Ken, Brian, or any of the aspirants, those reasons will change by 31st January 2026. So if you are a politician and you will rely on opinion polls, you'll be making a very great mistake. Prior to the 2024 elections, Professor Smart, I think that he was also having a very consistent track record, just like Musa Dankwa. He made us aware that it's going to be a runoff, and what was the outcome? So clearly, I think that if you look at the sample size, and Prof even elaborated the demographic analysis, and you were asking whether the female data can have any effect. You see, when you are doing a research, before you even go to the subsequent analysis, first of all, we need to show us the demographic analysis for us to know how demographically the data was represented in terms of gender, in terms of the regional representation, all the other factors capture the demographic analysis. That one will help us to know whether the subsequent analysis is very accurate or is not accurate. So as Prof rightly indicated. So for me, I think that the delegates, we have over 100,000 to 200,000 delegates who are going to decide who lead the new patriotic party into the 2028 elections. I don't think that the 2,656 delegates will fairly represent the decisions of the over 200,000 remaining as to who should lead the new patriotic party. And even with the camp of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, they should be very worried with this data because in the 2023 NPP presidential primaries, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, His Excellency, had 61.47%. The national presidential election, what was the outcome? According to the Electoral Commission, 275 constituency declared out of 276 constituency. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia had 41.75%. If you subtract that acceptance from the percentage he had during the NPP internal primaries, you are looking at a loss of 19.72%. So if the global info analytics is telling you that you are leading by 52%, that means statistically, if you project it into the 2028 elections, very likely you are going to lose that election by 32.28%, and that is very worrying. All right, and
Doctor, just because the other guests on the show, I'll come back to you so that we can look at the way forward. But let me bring in Mr. Kwesi Kwarteng. Mr. Kwarteng, your candidates. You've been selling your candidate for some time now.
Yes.
According to those that Mr. Dankwa spoke to, they don't appear to have so much faith in him. And that's how come he ended up with 17%. Quite a long way from the person they are projecting to win the primaries. Does this dampen the spirit? Does it say that you are just not working hard enough to convince the delegates of the NPP to change course for ahead of 2028?
Elton, thank you very much for the opportunity. Interestingly, the last person I spoke to before entering your studio was Mr. Musa Dankwa.
Okay.
Because I wanted to understand and get more clarity into his methodology and what he has put out there. And of course, let me take this opportunity to acknowledge the good work that he's doing. Of course, I mean, as soon as you put a research there and some findings there, it's just an invitation for people to criticize it. And Dr. Razak is criticizing, I mean, beyond him, you realize that other people are also criticizing even the methodology and what have you. But I mean, for me, I'm not a researcher properly so-called, of course, but of course, my lay knowledge, I'm sure, as the program goes on, I'll be able to also bring my, few, I don't want to call it criticism, but I want to maybe label them as some few clarifications that I would need. But you see, the most important thing to the question that you ask is not really about assuming without admitting that even every findings that he brought, we have to take it hook, line, and sinker. I don't think it's really a problem about dampening the spirit of Team Ken.
Right.
Rather, it will rather be a very sad situation for the NPP. And I come from this angle because, I mean, you look at the last election that we entered. Dr. Bawumia was our candidate, obviously having a very huge disapproval rate. If you want to even compare his votes that he garnered to that of his predecessor, President Akufo-Addo, in 2020, that is a decline of about 31%. Even the northern region where he comes from, if you want to compare his votes to that of President Akufo-Addo, you are looking at a decline of about 16.1%. He led us into an election that, as I speak with you, Elton, out of 9 regions, in terms of even the parliamentary seats that we have, we are looking at 5 seats out of 98 seats.
Right.
NDC has 93 and we have 5 seats.
Right.
So I'll be extremely surprised that the good people of NPP, after seeing the results and performance of the Bawumia-led election, will then go in this direction. Recall, in the biblical case of Israel, when the Israelites were determined to move in a certain direction, it got to a point that even God stood aside and seconded their motion. Because God, in his own wisdom, had wanted to be the king of Israel. Right. But Israel were determined to move in a certain direction. And God, at some point, when Israel pushed God through the prophet Samuel, at some point God said, well, Saul, then we'll give you Saul. And we all saw the consequence. Later, the people of Israel had to come in arms and they had to come and apologize to God. And then God then showed them mercy and gave them David. I'm not sure that is a replay that we're going to have here. Because if not for nothing at all, the good people of NPP will take a lesson from the biblical case of Israel and the case of Saul vis-a-vis God's supreme plan for them. But of course, I mean, it's a research. Let me also hasten to add that...
you think that he may not have spoken to NPP delegates?
Not really, but I'm saying that assuming, that's why I gave that caveat, that assuming without admitting that we are even to go by the dictate of it, I mean, then it's not really a scary situation for the NPP, but it's rather for Ken, but it's rather a scary situation for the NPP as a party. Because if you look at our trajectory and the history of the party, if you look at Professor Dubois, even in his first attempt, getting about 30.29%, then President Kufuor taking it to around 39%, then even President Akufo-Addo getting about 45%, to the extent that even getting about 49%, to the even extent that even during his first round, he even won with a margin of about 500,000 votes difference, only to lose at a time to Professor Mills. Yeah. And then even his second, the second maintaining the same 45, and the third round, which had about 6.7 million votes in terms of the nominal votes. And then Dr. Bawumia then taking it to a downward trend. Of course, the first in our history, the worst performance ever witnessed by any NPP candidate, to the downward trend to about 4.6 million, representing 41.6%. And then the NPP people see this as normal, then I'll be very surprised. But for me, let me state this. We consider this research work and the findings put out by Musa Dankwa as an opportunity and a feedback to just improve the work that we are doing. We don't want
just 5 months to go.
We don't want to be antagonists. I mean, even with 2 days. If you look at the finding that has been put out there, this work was done just within the space of 8 days, right, where people may even have concern about the narrow time and the narrow duration of even soliciting such responsibility. Because people feel that within such a narrow period, you may get people's views and attitudes, voter attitudes and voter behavior even fluctuating. But so people may have still concern. So if you have been able to gather this within the space of just 8 days, it presupposes that another 8 days or even 5 months, a lot of things can change. But I'm saying that for us in Team Ken, we take it as a very good feedback. Is an invitation for us to improve in the things that we are doing. Of course, that's not the first research that we have been exposed to. Recently, the African's Sanity Survey projected Ken to lead with about 54%. We also have even our own internal researches. There are a lot of other researches that we're doing. Other researchers has projected Ken to win and to be winning. And interestingly, if you recall, I just want to draw your attention to in the year 2020, the same Global Info Analytics. They predicted President Akufo-Addo to get 50.4, President Mahama to get 34.9, with about 2% leaning toward GUM.
This is 2020.
Yes, 2020. But in reality, Mahama had 47.3. So it's the same go by info analysis. That's how polling are. Voter behaviors keep changing based on the variables and the dynamics. But for us, we take it as an opportunity to once again go back to the delegates, let them understand the reality on the ground, give them the broader picture, let them understand. Because interestingly, I mean, if delegates today, assuming again, without admitting that we have to go by this, if a candidate leads you into an election and performs so poorly, so abysmally, to the extent that the candidate coming from, let's say, the northern part of the country, even if you want to take it even to the general or the broader perspective for the entire country, out of 16 regions in Ghana, was able to decline in 15 regions. And then the delegates look into the first space based on this same research and say that we still want to go into that direction. I'll be extremely surprised.
Let me bring in Prof. So
because one of the basic tenets that research also have to conform to is, I mean, common sense and logic. I'm not sure today if a research finding is to come and say that Joy FM is the worst performing, or multimedia is the worst performing media house in the country, it will sit well with anybody. I mean, people will question it based on the logical consistency that research finding comes. So I'll be very surprised. But of course, we take it in good faith. It is something that even though we take it in good faith, we disagree in part
with the outcome.
Okay.
I'll come back to ask you the question, why Ken? But let me bring in Prof. and Dr. Kwadwo Poku as I wrap up with you on this particular discussion. So again, Prof, I mean, before in the last Congress of the NPP that again brought Dr. Bawumia to lead the NPP, the criticism was that Dr. Bawumia had incumbency support. The reason why he did so well in terms of the super delegates and then the Congress itself. Now, that incumbency advantage is no longer there. Yet, in the opinion of those who are likely to vote in January, he's still the preferred choice. So clearly, would you say that he's been the man for the NPP all this while and that the party and those who are against were simply refusing to accept reality?
Yeah, well, we have to be a bit careful with that narrative because, well, if he was, because of the incumbency, he is the most marketed person currently in the NPP. None of them, except him, has been on the ballot paper as someone vying for presidency of Ghana. Right. So he is the most marketed person, if you ask me. So that in itself is giving him some leverage. But I want to come in a bit with a few underpinnings. So Musa Dankwa should be looking at those things as he progresses with what he is doing. Like my other panelist said, he's doing well. There is a bit of statistical uncertainty with polls. One, you should look at the margin of error. Sometimes it is miscalculated or misunderstood. All right? So you should look at the margin of error. Again, anytime he gathers data, you should look at the margin of error. And in fact, don't only consider the overall margin of error, but you need to consider the margin of error with respect to each of the constituencies and do it regional-wise because they will vary. And make sure that you factor that into your prediction. We should also be mindful of the political and the media influence effect. What we are doing now is like we are influencing an outcome that is yet to come. So people will hear, oh, Bawumia is leading 52%, then we should vote for him. Or the discussion currently is that, oh, Bawumia is on top, so he should be given the nod. So we should be mindful that that could also lead to some bit of people moving towards that. Then there is what we call the bandwagon effect. The bandwagon effect and the underdog effect is that sometimes when you are polling, I've done polls a number of times, when you are polling, people tend to answer your poll questions based on what the narrative is and not what they actually feel they should do.
Right.
For instance, somebody may think, oh, I want to vote for Ken. However, everybody seems to be talking about Dr. Bawumia being in the lead. So I would shelve what I would want to do on that day, but I would say, oh, okay, I favor this person. So all these things could have an influence over what is yet to happen.
Okay.
And we need to be a bit careful on that. But in summary, polls provide valuable snapshots of what is yet to happen. And it's okay. All the aspirants should take it in good faith and work towards improving their scores.
All right. Prof, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Professor Ezekiel Norte is Associate Professor, Department of Statistics and Actuarial Science, University of Ghana. I wanted to chip in something before I go to Dr. Razak.
I think the whole narrative about Dr. Bawumia having been marketed enough is not really supported by the data. Of course, you can be marketed hugely, but that product may still not be likable to the people. And I give you an instance. I give you just the historical trend of the NPP votes in terms of the presidential candidates' performance from 92 till now, just briefly. I take you to 92, Professor Dubois. I mean, in spite of all the hostilities at that time during because we were just transitioning from
military rule to constitutional rule.
He was able to pull 1.2 million votes. Then John Kufuor in 96 took it to 2.8 million. Then John Kufuor again took it to 3.6 million. John Kufuor again in his third bid, that is 2004, then escalated it once again to 4.5 million. Then again, for the Akufo-Addo's first time, 4.5 million. And that was when he even won at the first round.
Yeah.
And recall at that time, the highest office that Akufo-Addo had to operate to demonstrate and show visibility to the public in terms of marketability was just two offices. The office of the Attorney General and Minister for Foreign.
But it had been a known face for the NPP since 92.
Bawumia had been a known face for the NPP for the past 8 years as the vice presidential candidate then. That is more marketability than just being around the political system. That is a statement of fact. Then you move on beyond that. Akufo-Addo, the second time, had 5.2 million. The third time, 5.8 million. And in 2020, when he contested for the last time, had escalated even the votes to around 6.7 million. And I just want to give you the context, because if you don't situate things within the context, you may be discarding things out of the pretext. Now you have the most marketed candidate, the most likable candidate, arguably, because people feel that there is a correlation between being marketed and being like, which I disagree. You can be marketed strongly, but still the people may not like you based on own factors or other reasons known to them. Then from 6.7 million, as shown on the graph there, Dr. Bawumia then moved our votes, dropped minus 31.3% to 4.6 million. So, I mean, the logic of marketability as a trump card for the Bawumia agenda really is not supported by the data.
Facts. All right, let me bring in Dr. Razak Kojo-Poku. So, what are the lessons here, especially for all the candidates, and in this case from Dr. Bawumia to the last person, and of course to the undecided voters? What are the lessons here? In 5 months' time, the delegates will go to the polls and elect who should lead the NPP for the 2028 elections. What are the lessons here, even as you have concerns with the facts presented by the Info Analytics?
Yeah, the lessons that can be drawn from the data that we are just discussing is that all the aspirants should not over-rely on opinion polls.
But it is very necessary to test your popularity.
It's just a guide. It's just a guide, and it's not something that you have to rely on it and make a projection and anticipation that you are going to win. And one thing we also need to understand is that being most marketed doesn't translate to acceptability. The end result of marketing is acceptance and sales. So you can market a product for thousands of years, but if the consumers are not willing and ready to accept and buy that particular product, you'll be wasting resources in marketing that particular product. So take, for instance, Riley Odinga of Kenya. How many times he has been marketed to the Kenyan people? So he has not been approved by the Kenyans. So let's put that accountability discussion somewhere. I think that the delegates of the New Patriotic Party should look at the data, the historical data from 1992 to 2024, and make a decision that will be in the best interest of the New Patriotic Party. And they should not rely on entrenchment theory, on assumption that we just want to make someone a president. It's about NPP getting power. It's about NPP getting a prominence and well accepted nationally. Because as I speak now, NPP is not a national political party. You can't tell me you're a national political party whereby 4 regions you have 0 representation in parliament. So the 4 regions, out of the 16 regions, NPP, you don't have a single person in parliament representing the interests of the people in those regions. You are not a serious party. Seriously, you are not a serious party. And one thing political parties need to understand is that every national election, you are presenting or sponsoring a presidential candidate to go and occupy the executive arm of government, and also sponsor parliamentary candidate to go and occupy the legislature. And the Ghanaians are represented in parliament. They are not represented in the executive arm of government. And as you speak, if you look at the data, Mills was the first sitting vice president to contest an election in this country. And Mills entered into Ghanaian politics in 1996, 4 years of marketing. But look at the performance in 2000 election. He pushed the election to runoff, regardless of the great alliance and from all the opposition parties in favor of the New Patriotic Party. It has to take a second round for the NPP to win. And what was the parliamentary results? Mills had 92 against NPP 99. The difference was 7 seats. And when you take Nana Akufo-Addo, who was not even the sitting vice president, look at the performance. He lost the election with time being the deciding effect. With how many votes? 40,586 votes. And what was the parliamentary outcome? He pulled 107 seats for the New Patriotic Party against 116 seat of the NDC. What was the difference? 9 seats. Let's take 2024. Look at the presidential margin and look at the parliamentary margin, 95 seats with 0 seats in 4 regions. And you are telling me the New Patriotic Party are not ready.
But you cannot blame one person for this. I mean,
you can't blame one person.
The performance of the party cannot be hung on the necks of just the candidate.
It's a combination of factors. But who was on the ballot? If the candidates have won, who are we going to praise?
Right, we'll leave it here for now. Thank you very much. Dr. Kwadwo Razak Poku is the founder and executive director of UP Institute. So again, Kwesi, so
I want to comment on the ability thing. You see, like Dr. Kwadwo Poku said, you can be marketed, but yet still you will not be accepted and liked by the people. And I mean, recall, I'm just referencing the same Mr. Musa Danquah.
Right.
He had indicated, I mean, right after the general elections, that in terms of the general outlook and the general acceptability, Dr. Bawumia against any other candidate, mostly he pairs with John Mahama, will still lose. So for me, that should be the main issue. Whether or not the NPP are still determined to bring Dr. Bawumia. The second issue probably may be whether or not the NPP wants power or they just believe in maybe presenting somebody who they feel has been marketed. Which even this whole concept and argument about marketability, I disagree. Because if you look at, for instance, his contender, of course, his main contender, Kennedy Ogine Japan, for instance, he has been around since 92. investing in the party, sponsoring the party, advocating for the ordinary people, the vulnerable people, has been around for some time now. I'm not sure in terms of popularity within the broader Ghanaian base, among the voters. You may say that Dr. Bawumia probably has been more marketed than Kennedy Agyapong. That I may respectfully disagree. So yes, when you are being marketed, I'm not sure it's really about marketability, because if you recall, President Mahama in his first time had only served as a vice president for a short period of time, only unfortunately for the demise of Professor Mills. But yes, so he won his first round of election. Yes. If you compare to 16 years of marketability and going to lose with this level of margin, I don't think this whole argument of marketability really comes in. And compared to Kennedy Agyapong, you realize that Kennedy Agyapong, in terms of the marketability, popularity has been around, in terms of understanding the party's history, has been around and has been more marketed.
So I ask the question, why Ken? As we begin to wrap up on this conversation.
No, in terms of Ken, I think the point has to be made that 2028 is all about winning power. 2028 is not really about maybe just rewarding candidates for showing up in the name of second chance and marketability. I give you an instance of what recently happened to us at Ablekuma North. Right. How the NDC treated us and how they bullied and molested us. You need that candidate with that braveness, that courage, that proven track record of disciplined, fearless, that track record that indeed, I mean, when he set his mind on what he wants to get, he indeed wants to get it. In terms of...
yeah, so we'll be wrapping up soon. Mr. Kwesi Kwarteng is just telling me why Kennedy Agyapong should be the preferred candidate for the NPP in the 2028 general elections. I've seen loads of comments here on our WhatsApp platforms, and I'll share it with you as we look at this pool results that came from Info Analytics, Mr. Musa Dankwa. So, Kwesi,
I think the microphone is set. Yeah. So I mean, for the point that I was making, you see, 2028 is not really about parties. It's also about the personalities. Right. Is an election involving personalities, the track record, the credibility of the candidates involved, how Ghanaians trust such people, and of course, in terms of their connection with the grassroots. And if you look at Kennedy Agyapong, his connection with the grassroots, the message that he carries, the message of creating jobs, I've always maintained that our problems as a country has always been systemic. Job creation, roles, health, whatever. And especially even at the individual level, has been able to achieve at an individual level, talking about the job creation, talking about the advocacy for the youth. In terms of the acceptability, you realize that if you put Kennedy Agyapong among all the other candidates, he stands quite taller. And of course, I mean, the records are there, the data is already there, that just opposing that with Dr. Bawumia's performance, clearly, he may be a victim of circumstance, whether on matters of economy, whether on matters of geography, any other matters. He may have been a victim of circumstance, but it has been established that looking at the margin of loss and the abysmal performance that he demonstrated, which probably as at now still remains the worst form of performance since 92, if we present him, it's not going to work. We need a new face in the spirit of revival, in the spirit of party strength, in the spirit of party harmony, in the spirit of the person who can bring everybody on board, give assurance to the Ghanaian people, have higher acceptability and likability. We are of the strong belief that Kennedy Agyapong stands tall and should be able to win us power into it.
And are you happy with the process so far?
Yes, I mean, obviously, so far so good. You see, at the end of the day, sovereignty resides with the people. There are over 200,000 polling station executives. I mean, it's a more reason why even if we want to scrutinize this data, the research findings that was brought by Mr. Dankwa, we realize that most of the people that he interviewed are within a certain age bracket. Most of them, about 55 to 64. Right. That's not where our strength lies. Kennedy's strength lies with the base, the young people in the party. And we will continue to engage them. We will continue to sell our message to them, the message of hope, the message that we want to rescue the NPP, the message that can indeed win power for the NPP in 2028. Then they are buying it. I mean, I end with a biblical quote. The Bible has always said that the heart of the king is in the hands of the Lord. Like the river that runneth, wherever he like is where he turneth it. So we'll continue to engage them. They are the key makers. They have the power. They are the people where the sovereignty resides. So we'll continue to engage them. And I am extremely and excessively confident they are going to give him the nod, because I am not sure any NPP person, as at now, any true NPP person lies the current state of the NPP. We need to rebrand. We need to regroup. We need to demonstrate that we have rebranded, and that also includes bringing a new face to revive the party. And there is no other person that can revive the new patriotic party than. And
finally, you think Akwatia should be such that the NPP uses it as the springboard to galvanize itself ahead of election? I mean, the outcome is very important for the party.
Oh, certainly. I mean, it was our seat, and we are preparing again to contest. So far, even if you look at all the findings also being on grounds, you realize that I wouldn't want to call it a comfortable lead, but we are doing well. We'll continue to engage, we'll continue to mobilize, and I'm confident that Akwatia will come back.
All right.
To the NPP.
Mr. Kwasi, thank you so much for coming through, and he speaks for Kennedy Ohenegye-Pomne. Mr. Ohenegye-Pomne is contesting to lead the NPP in the 2028 election. We've been looking at the info analytics pool that was released yesterday and what it holds for the candidates ahead of the January 2026 National Delegates Congress of the NPP. We'll take a short break here on the program. When we return, we'll talk about Ghana Gas and the maintenance work ongoing there and what it will mean for power generation in the country when we return. Stay put. Welcome back. Of course, it's still the pulse here on Joy News. Now, let's talk about electricity because it's very important. Ghana Gas says it is on course to complete the scheduled maintenance it is currently undertaking within the stipulated time frame to make more gas available for power generation. Now, the company says this is to ensure the country has more power that will help government implement its 24-hour economic policy. This will also help avert any possible doom so that could arise as a result of gas shortage due to the shutdown. The CEO of the company, Judith Ajoba Blay, made this known at the training workshop for journalists in Takrady.
Saying that Ghana Gas will have the GPP too. Today it's not in our hands because decisions have to be made by government. By that I mean the ministry, by that I mean the president. Once that decision has been made, that high-level decision has been made, and we are given the opportunity to take on Ghana Gas, the gas processing too, we are ever ready to do that. The reason I was late, you know, that since 16th of August, we have shut down the gas processing plant for major maintenance. Some of the maintenance works we are doing are works we haven't done ever since the plant was built. So, and it's not because we are not doing that, it's because the owners of the manufacturers of the equipment put down, you know, the instructions that you can only open this in 10 years, you can only do this in 5 years. So this year's maintenance is very major because it offers us opportunity to do some of the things we haven't done for 10 years. And we are still committed, totally committed to giving the plan back to the Minister of Energy in 10 days. We started on the 16th. I'm praying that by the 10th day, which is about the 26th or the 27th, we'll hand it to the Ministry of Energy. At that point, the plant will have better integrity because we've maintained it. So the purpose of this shutdown maintenance is to put the plant in an enhanced way such that we can even take some more gas. So the minister is on us to take more gas. So it's only when we've maintained it and maintained it very well that we can take on the additional gas from Thailand. Currently, we are doing an average of about 100 million scf per day. We are hoping that after the shutdown, once we've ramped up the plant to its optimal levels, we'll be able to take an extra 10 from Thailand and bring it about 120 million scf, which just means that we'll have more megawatts to improve our energy situation.
Right, so let's get to understand this more. And joining me is the head of corporate affairs, Ghana Gas, Richard Kekmensa. Richard, so, I mean, the statement that came from the Energy Ministry said the maintenance is a routine thing that happens almost all the time. But now we are getting to understand that upon completion, even the capacity will improve.
Yeah, good afternoon to your channel viewers. Even though there has been routine maintenance work, this particular maintenance work is unprecedented in the sense that there are some maintenance works that are being done for the first time ever since the machine started operation. That is the reason why it is unprecedented. And after the holistic maintenance work, the strength of the machine will come back to its original level, original capacity. That is why we are expecting the production to move from the current state of between 80 to 90 mm/scarf to about 120 mm/scarf a day.
And what would that mean for sustainability of the energy sector?
It has economic implications and also job creation opportunity. In the economic sense, you know, the production of the gas is mainly for the generation of electricity at the power plant sector. And with the increase of about 20 to 30 mm/scarf in the production line means that the money, the resources that we use to buy liquid fuel to power that plant will be channeled to other avenue of the governance,
right,
and thereby government making savings there. Then with the industrialization drive that Ghana Gas is producing the gas for the industrial growth, it will let the cost build up for this industry to be lessened, because when you compare generating from the liquid fuel and the gas production that we are supplying to the industry, it makes the production cost of this industry lessen. And any industry, any factory will want to make the best out of its returns. So when he's spending less on energy, then they have other avenues to channel the resources into, and mostly they will go for expansion. When they go for expansion, then they increase the workforce of the company. That's why I said that it has economic implication and it's an avenue for creation of jobs.
But clearly, the more gas we have, the cheaper electricity will become. Is that not what it is?
That is it. That is it. That is why we are all praying for this current administration to put into practice what is on paper for the construction of the GPP2. When the GPP2 come on stream, Ghanaians will pay relatively cheaper for electricity, because we will be having another phase of about 100 to 150 mm/scarf coming on stream, and it will automatically reduce the cost of electricity, and it will even increase investment drive in the country, because comparatively, investors will want to compare which country within the sub-Saharan Africa has lesser energy costs.
And then we are told that this particular maintenance should have taken place a long time ago. It was postponed several times.
Yes, that is when we inherited the affairs of the company, there was a schedule for this maintenance long overdue, but due to reasons best known to those who were managing the company, I cannot speak for them. They are no longer the managers of the company. So from what we have on table, it was supposed to have happened somewhere last year, but the current administration led by the CEO, Ms. Judith Ajibable, said that for the efficiency and the long-term sustainability of this plant, let's put everything on board and make sure the maintenance work happens. And upon broader stakeholder consultations with the ministry, this exercise has been done, and we can see our lights are still on.
Of course.
Because the minister made adequate provision for liquid fuel in substitution of the gas.
I asked that question earlier because I wanted to know whether the postponements, whether it affected the integrity of the plant, or the plant is still in good shape.
I can say that the plant is in good shape, and even though wear and tear of some of the parts has happened because of the delay in maintenance, the engineering team, the maintenance team have put in all their technical models to make sure the plant come back on stream very effective, very efficient to produce gas for our power generation and industrial consumption.
So you've got 1 more week to go for this maintenance work.
Probably we said we were going to do 14 days, but the way things are going and the data available to me, we will by all means finish this maintenance work ahead schedule. All
right. And finally, Mr. Mensah, this week also, we also got a very serious story regarding your pipelines being encroached by illegal miners. I don't know the steps being taken to get them off as far away from the gas pipeline as possible.
To the best of my knowledge, as the head of corporate affairs, Ghana Gas Company Limited pipelines are safe and secured. It has been in the media space. I don't know where where that story originated from, but from what I know, from what is on table, from the surveillance system we have put in place, and the type of security network we have on our pipelines, I can tell you that our gas pipelines are safe and secure, even though there are illegal mining activities in and around some of the enclaves. Our pipelines are safe and secure.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Richard Kekmensah, is head of corporate affairs with Ghana Gas Company Limited, and they are hoping to finish this maintenance. We're giving ahead of schedule because of how they are going. Now, dangerous substances are robbing thousands of Ghana's youth of their health, education, and future. And from tramadol to cocaine and marijuana and unregulated concussion, the drug crisis is destroying lives whilst fueling crime and mental illnesses. Now, in the yet to be aired hotline documentary, Deadly Doses, my colleague Nana Wachi Yadom goes inside Kumasi's most notorious ghetto to expose an epidemic that experts warn could soon overwhelm the nation. Here are excerpts of the yet to be played.
I want Tinka to be a thing of the past in the next 6 months, and I'm very, very happy.
Our journey takes us deep into the heart of places tagged as drug hubs, beginning with Thinker Island at the Alaba suburb of Kumasi, where you watch several addicts drift off mid-conversations, their bodies still, their minds hijacked. This hub has, for decades, defied efforts to be eradicated. I have met these 3 addicts, leading me into one of the many ghettos in the island. Here, drug dealers operate with an almost open defiance. Our aim is to engage them, to understand their world, and if possible, to spot the elusive cartel that fuels this relentless trade. I begin with 26-year-old Rich Diddy, not his real name, who is already holding 2 tablets of opioid. This will be his second take for the day. He tells me that he started this in class 6 at age 13 after his friend introduced him to Tinker Island.
This, what drug is this?
This one is red.
Red?
225.
225?
Red.
Why?
This one is they call Unim Red.
Unim Red? Why do you take red?
Because I used to work, they make me work hard to do something like the thing I cannot do itself, I can do it very hard.
For 13 years now, Rich Diddy has been a consistent abuser of opioids, cocaine, marijuana, among others. He is also into alcoholism. He has been to the hospital and has been told about his poor health condition, but says he is unable to stop taking drugs. Seated next to Rich Diddy is 40-year-old ghetto lord, not his real name, who has been into drugs for 15 years now. Despite being a father of 3, he tells me his wife has rejected him because of his addiction.
I told me no joke.
Where cigarettes?
Yeah, where cigarettes? Yeah, rough man.
I didn't know we.
Tell me no, I'm put me a day kakra, but at long last, I'm my emre. She say cry there, I'm go baby woo.
Baby woo.
Na dey kwedi of anoje.
Na unim say baby woo na wono.
I say so manya mo bia me ntimi fa for so nyai.
Ntimi njai.
You be boane kakra.
These drugs are deadly and we have to be careful. We have to get a regulation to help us regulate these drugs very, very well. Very, very well. Because there are people on the market who are selling it without any knowledge of the opioid. We call them opioid naive people. And these people may take this opioid without any knowledge.
So related to this, NACOP, renewed crackdown on drug trade appears to be gaining momentum. This afternoon, the Commission destroyed yet another massive haul seized over just last month, and my colleague Michael Shelley was there. So what happened today, Michael?
Well, so Elton, just before I tell you what happened today, the background is that the whole last year, it was in November 2024 when NACOC had some big bust, and they had to, with a court decision, they had to go and ban it or destroy it. Now, the next time after November 2024 was June 20th, 2025. That is almost 6 months or 7 months after their last one. So 7 months, that was when they went to ban the well over $350 million worth of narcotics or illicit drugs that they have been managed to confiscate in 7 months. And now 2 months later, they have gone back. Clearly, they are making some strides. And at that June, the Director General at the time told us that they were going to mount a renewed crackdown on illicit drugs and drug peddling, and this is the results of it. So we went to a coded site somewhere off the, if you are heading towards the Volta region, that road, use it. That's where we went to today, and then they had to go and destroy all of it. What we know as it stands is that we are talking about between 12.8 million Ghana cedis and 13 million Ghana cedis.
Worth of drugs?
Yes, worth of illicit drugs.
And this, what kind?
So 3 major kinds. We had cocaine in there, and we also had what you call tramadol and some other drugs in the bits and pieces of it here. So that's what exactly we can see on the screen, at the moment. So what we are talking about, this particular one, the yellow ones you can see, they were in more than 100 sacks of them. And these yellow ones are just small, they put into a bigger sack. 126 sacks of them that they had managed to bust, and then now they have the court's order to incinerate all of it. Again, they tell us about the tramadol and where they actually managed to get it from. This was at the Temaport, and they tell us there was a 40-foot container.
Tramadol.
Exactly, full of tramadol, well over 5,000 capsules, 5 million capsules, I beg your pardon, in there. And so that's quite a lot of drugs that we are talking about. This truck had to go, and then 2 other tipper trucks later came to offload the tramadol. The Director General, and appears from the commentary and the conversations we had with him, he says that, well, this is not the time to actually sleep. The more they crack down, it means that these people are going to be getting smarter by the day. They're going to be using some other different means to be peddling these drugs. And he says that they have all the patience in the world and are going to be fishing on some of these schemes and manage to get more drugs that they will hope to also destroy very soon. All right.
Michael, thank you so much. And of course, this is what you're seeing on the screens now is the drugs that they destroyed today at an undisclosed location, seized, sometimes from the ports, another port of, and so these are the issues. So we'll take a short break here on the post. When we return, we'll talk about religion and politics. We've got an exclusive for you. Before we go, let's talk about politics and, of course, religion. Now, Cardinal Peter Appiah Turkson, Chancellor of the Pontifical Academics of Science and Social Sciences at the Vatican, is urging Christians to approach prophecy with discernment, warning against its growing entanglement with politics and personal ambition. The Ghanaian-born Polit observed that whilst prophecy remains an important gift for guiding believers, it must never be reduced to political prediction or partisan endorsement. His comments come amid rising debates in Ghana over the role of prophets, some of whom frequently predict political outcome. And he had this encounter with my colleague, Emifa Akusi-Adete. And that's how I end the show. My name is Elton Bobby.
Thank you so much for agreeing to sit with us here on the Joy News channel. We'll start with the recent helicopter crash, sadly, that happened on August 6th this year. Whilst the nation or the country is grieving and mourning, many have said that it is as well because of our fight against illegal mining, popularly or locally known as galamsey. And the challenge is that if we have nipped it in the bud a long time ago, won't have to be now going through the process of launching pockets of vehicles or tools to still fight it. My question really, His Eminence, is that how do you assess the fight of illegal mining currently in this country?
So, question then is not evaluation of this assessment, this interpretation of the event, but the issue of galamsey mining itself. Because I may probably have an issue with the way people link the episode to, is it what? Is it that God was punishing the government for trying to control illegal mining? Is that a sense of what, of the question or what? I don't know.
Well, the background of it is that these statements were on their way to the launch of one of the government's tools to fight galamsey called Responsible Cooperative Mining and Skill in the Ashanti region. And whilst this could have happened whilst you're en route to another program, it just draws a lot of theories in people's mind to the fact that why are we still on the conversation of illegal mining? Why are we still here? We should have done better.
That we should have done better, or should have had to show more stewardship and responsibility for the environment. That's clear. And in that sense, it's not an issue only for the government of Ghana. From my own office, we deal with this all the time, and we invariably we've actually launched a program of taking us around 10 regions in the world to talk about climate resilience and concern and protection for the environment. Because from a scientific point of view and from a religious point of view, the abusive use of anything in creation, the environment and all, does not augur well for a sustainable existence on this earth. So all what we can do to kind of show concern for for nature, for creation, is so very necessary, because we believe that the two are connected. The destiny of the human person and the destiny of the earth or creation are interrelated and interdependent, interlinked. There's no way we can treat creation or nature anyhowly and expect that our own lives on earth would also be successful or profitable, because we depend a lot on creation. It's so very clear. Our bodies were made, according to scriptures, out of the material of the earth. So we are earth beings, if you want. And our bodies are sustained also by products that come out of the earth. Agriculture, whatever type of thing, and its waters. So they sustain our bodies. So in a very real way, we're so interconnected and interrelated with the earth that should already drive us to, if not respect, at least protect. But the ideal thing would have been to respect this relationship and try to treat everything that exists in creation with some respect and dignity. Now, short of that, we should reckon with, see, creation lashes back every now and then. Okay, we elsewhere, Miami is losing coastline because of rising sea level. West coast of the United States, the forest fires because of drought. The islands in the Pacific are going underwater. So it's so clear around us that our disregard for concern for nature and creation is leading to a whole lot of disasters which affect and impact our life. So one might simply say that we cannot abusively treat the environment without thinking about abusively treating our own lives, you know. And this is not to talk about people of faith or religious people. Religious people praying with the Bible read in Psalm 19 how creation reveals God. The heavens proclaim the glory of God, and we human beings do not proclaim the glory of God. We abusively deal with what God has created and protected. And then we do not only pray with the elements of creation, but some actually do worship with the elements of creation. Like those churches which, do with communion and baptism, you use water to baptize, you use oil for anointing, you use bread grown from the earth for Eucharist. So how can you then abusively treat what? Underlies your own life of worship. So it's so important that we learn to respect creation and whatever. Now, in this regard, when we have a human practice or activity, like Kalam said, we've always had mining. Okay, since antiquity. The book of Job, chapter 28, speaks about mining. How people go down into the earth and stop waters and all of that to get out the treasures. It's in the Bible. Mining is not a new thing. Remember, we used to name the epochs in history based on metal. Iron Age, Copper Age, all of this. So mining is not a novel. It's not a new thing with us. We've always mined, metals and whatever from the earth. And so here in Ghana, gold has always been here. We used to call Gold Coast. And so that's also why Kwame Nkrumah, okay, blessed memory, he said, if you want to mine, go down and get it, and leave the surface for us to live on and live off. So that's what it is now. So we did have that. But it's also now being discovered that gold is not always deep in the ground. Sometimes you have it very, close to the surface on the topsoil. So in so doing, which is what Kalamse does, you get rid of the vegetation, denudation, you get rid of the topsoil, that's for agriculture, only to get to this. So you get precious metal, but in the process destroy what feeds you and what nourishes you. So it's an activity which is not sustainable. And if we still need to get the metal, then let's find a sustainable way of doing this. It's not sustainable in the sense that when the companies, so with big resources, decided to mine, they would go down and get it with shafts and whatever, and they will have tail dams to wash the, whatever thing, and not spill them into rivers. So they had it all under control. Kalamse and private individuals don't have the capital to invest in all of this. So they take the cheapest way out, which just means pollution rivers, washing this in rivers, and so a whole lot of our river systems are dying. Okay, so Ankobra is gone, Pra is gone. So Pra now enters the sea. You pass by, in the past when we were growing up, you cross from Cape Coast to Takoradi, and you have shrimps to buy. It's gone. The breeding ground of all of this. So that's what it is. Therefore, an initiative like what these ministers were going to go inaugurate was going to be an attempt to organize them, and probably in the organization of them, grouping them to groups, the government will be able to provide probably a tail dam for them to wash the gold and not just spill into rivers. So I think this is a fruit of a reflection that the government did, okay, and which they were going to implement. So you have an activity that you see you cannot easily stop because people's life or whatever depends on it. But you also recognize its downstream effect, which is destruction of water bodies and environment. And so as a government, you want to try to see how you can respect both needs. People's need for jobs or something to whatever, and at the same time the conservation of your environment. And so what you just described about creating cooperatives, whatever, was probably in the direction by way of finding a solution to something that you don't want to simply stop.
Absolutely.
Okay, but something that you also whose side effect you also recognize to be deleterious or offensive or abusive of the environment. So I wouldn't find that offensive in God's plan, so as to cause an accident to happen. Neither would I find it offensive in any, principle of destiny to make accident like that happen. We just need to recognize that all our travels based on technology. Anytime we step into a car, we put our hands in the hands of technology. And when that is the case, we need to recognize that this was put together by humans. And human error is always a factor to reckon with whenever you deal with any type of human production machines. That's why in the tradition of the church, we bless cars. We bless instruments of transportation. We bless them so that God will protect us and the users from errors of human shortcoming and overlooking. So, an accident like that happens. My own brother died in a plane accident off the coast of Ivory Coast 25 years ago. Okay, and we got, we're going to be doing a small event in the village for him. Okay. So it's an accident that happens. I lost a brother through an air crash, and, so this has also happened. What do I say? It's all because of whatever, God punishing us, or I don't know.
Do you envisage the role of the church at all in this fight against illegal mining? Do you envisage the role of the church?
So if I don't have the details over here. So I left Ghana in 2010, invited to work in the Vatican. Then the Pope who invited me there is Pope Benedict XVI, who was dead and gone. But succeeding him was Pope Francis. And his first activity was care, inviting us to care for creation. In fact, his installation, the first mass he had, was on the Feast of St. Joseph as the caretaker of the Holy Family, so Jesus and Mary. And the Pope used this function of Joseph as a caretaker to invite all of humanity to exercise caretaking for creation and for nature. So that was his first message to humanity on becoming a Pope. And based on that, he invited my office at that time to help draft a document whose title now is Laudato Si, Care for Our Common Home. And this whole document is based both on science and theology on the need for us to care for creation. And we've been promoting this since 2015. It's taking me around the United Nations and several places talking about this is a very basic thing. You don't need to be religious to recognize the need to care for creation because of the interdependence and interrelationship between the two. The former Pope Benedict XVI said that in creation and life there's no neutral or independent relationship that exists. Everything is interconnected and dependable. So when we talk about ecology, it's not just about nature. When we talk about natural ecology, and that's ensuring that we provide nature with a type of environment of interconnectedness of relationship that enables things to thrive. But so does a human being also have an ecology. We human beings also require a set of relationships to make our lives thrive. And so we talk about human ecology, we talk about natural ecology. The two of them need to be brought together. We cannot dismiss natural ecology and to develop human ecology. It's not possible. Because we almost, apart from those who believe in God and, whatever type of thing, all our lives on earth are supported by creation. God did not create Adam and Eve before he created the garden and everything in the Bible. He created this before he created human person, because there is the need for the wherewithal to support human existence.
Right.
And therefore it is important. So, in this sense, we can go on that side. See, there is a group in Osu. There is a church called the Maronites, right? The Maronites, it's a group, so when you talk about Christians, it's not just Catholic, Methodist, whatever. In the East, so in Athens, Greece and all of that, there's a group called the Orthodox churches, right? they started talking about, or reminding us about our respect for creation way before even this document I'm talking about, way before the culture started talking about it. And indeed, they call the abuse of creation as sin. They use the word sin. So sin is not what we do, but even abusive treatment of creation they want to call a sin. So it is that anything that represents our abuse of the work of God's hand cannot be, lightly looked upon.
Thank you for such an elaborate answer, because then you didn't just give the answer saying that of course the church should or they should not. You give evidence to that answer. There is a conversation in Ghana. It's been a conversation that's been lingering, but now it's come to the fore, especially again because of this helicopter crash, that there's a call that religious leaders should submit their prophecies for review.
Prophecies about what?
If there is any prophecy about...
So a prophecy about anything?
Government officials or anything that is in the domain of the government, they should submit the review, for a review.
If this is a government policy, I'm not part of, so I respect the considerations that led them to this, argument. I've not been privy to it, and I've not had the chance to, consider the factors and the elements that led to this type of thing. But as a man of religion, let me put it that way, or as a priest and whatever, I find that to be a very challenging task. Okay. I can again, depend on how much time we have going through all of this from the beginning, but let me do it basically this way. Start traditionally, Akomfo.
Yes, okay.
Traditionally, Akomfo, when I'm using a word out there, when they come, okay, and when they come, it is to come out with a prophecy. Okay, Akomfo go through whatever type of thing to come out with a message, okay, which is supposed to have been inspired by the deity or whatever type of thing they serve, or in whose name, whatever type of thing. That's a form of prophecy they will claim. Okay, that's a form of prophecy they will claim, and it got its different abuses and different whatever. As a child growing up, I grew up in a mining town in Sutatakwa. As a child growing up, I knew of episodes where people, just to fashion credibility, would follow a person, and then they test, then they would ask, do you see what is following you? And naturally, the person turns around and sees nothing. And then they will say, you don't have eyes, okay? You don't have eyes, so you don't see what is following you. And that already is enough to sow anxiety and fear in you. And so the natural thing is, you want to see this thing that the other guy who has eyes can see. And that's how our comfort used to attract people to whatever. And so you go to them and it's bring this and bring a chicken and bring this and bring that, whatever, to protect you, whatever type of thing. That was also a traditional form of prophecy, Eshekom. Okay? And we have borrowed that word, akomshe, okay? Now we talk of akomshe as prophecy, removed from this traditional thing about deity or fetish or whatever type of, but there's still akomshe, okay? And then people, so God speaks to them. And indeed, this is not foreign. In scriptures, we have this given as one of the gifts. Okay, of that Christ, the gift of the Holy Spirit bestowed on the church. Some would prophesy, and some would interpret prophecies. Okay, we read about this in Paul's letter to the Corinthians and Ephesians. So this is also part of Christian whatever type of thing. So we're dealing with the gift of the Holy Spirit that enables people, through which God bestows on humans an aspect of His divine knowledge. Divine knowledge about things happening, things in the future and all of that. So people do that to promote. If you were to look at Romans and whatever, it's to promote the church. It's gift given by the Holy Spirit to promote the church and all of that. And this type of gift is also sometimes to warn or to educate or whatever type of whatever. This, however, I would say, is not to be confused with premonition. There's another thing in human life called premonition. People have this gift of premonition. I've known my priesthood, I've dealt with people who have the gift of premonition. They see something happening, about to happen, but are worried sometimes because in most cases they're not able to stop it from happening. They see it just before it happens, but are not in a position to stop it. And that worries them. And in having to deal with people with that kind of thing, then the thing I ask them to do, when that is the case, when God opens your eyes to see whatever, pray first. Put it to prayer. God is merciful. He's shown this to you. It just means that he knows you can do something. And the first thing you can do is intercede. Intercede with God about whatever you see happening. The last case that I heard of this was when I was a staff in the Emisano or whatever. There was a lady in that town who had this gift of premonition. He'd gone to Elmina for shopping, and a colleague from the same village got into a taxi. And the moment the taxi took off, she saw the taxi in a ditch. Okay? The taxi had taken off. There was no way she could stop the taxi. So she gets in the second taxi and goes and then finds the taxi in the ditch. And that kind of thing bothered her, that you see something evil coming, but you're not able to stop and to deal with it. That's why my suggestion to her was pray. At least you can pray. Pray about it, ask God, exercise your power of intercession.
So you envisage this call quite a challenging one because of the nuances that come.
So I hope this is not, I should not say whatever, but how is an office going to monitor and discern prophecies? If prophecies are not just, the Christian whatever, if you include this under the traditional whatever, they also forms of prophecies. And then you include those who are not really but the gift of premonition. This is a gift which is different from prophecy. Okay, premonition is a natural gift that a lot of people have and exercise. They don't refer to it as prophecy, but it's a gift that I have to have. In my own small case, okay, in my office room, windows and everything locked, air conditioning, everything on. Then sometime I would see a flying insect from nowhere. Invariably, shortly thereafter, I will have a news of a death. What is that? So what can I do? I won't call this prophecy, but there's so very many events related to this, to the knowledge about the future. It comes as a prophecy, it comes as a premonition, it comes in so very many different forms. Now, when you say you've created an office with people to manage this, the advantage is that it just saves that knowledge from public, whatever, social media and all the interpretation, everything that it can. So you canalize this, you seek to channel this type of thing in a way that can reduce its impact or effect on whatever type of thing. So in that sense, that's very valid. But if this office then has the additional task of determining which is true and which is not true, which is valid, which is not valid, then that's a tough one.
Okay.
That'll be a tough one to.
Okay. My final question may be, Your Eminence, is that if I look to Upper East, I'd have Boko in my mind. Then if I went to OT region, I'd have Nkwanta. And every now and then, we get these issues of conflict and all. I should start my question with some African countries. We're observing some small pockets of unrest. But let's bring it home, over here in our country ourselves. Do you envisage an end to the Boko conflict?
It should be. The actors are all human. The actors are all finite beings. So finite beings means that they have a beginning, they have an end. Okay, so theoretically, it should be possible to envisage an end. When an act of an event or whatever is finite, has a beginning and end, then you should probably then anticipate. Of course, this is whatever, but then you have to recognize also with tradition. People passing on experiences and things that go on. And so, yes, people may die, but then depends on what they've communicated to those who come after them, so who perpetuate what should otherwise be a finite and whatever type of thing. The issue about Bawumia address, as well as that of Nkwanta, we dealt with already when, in the when the National Peace Council was first instituted in this country, with which I said with the religious leaders, Otebi was a member, Bishop Lodonu Ofo was a member, where somebody representing the chief imam, Mwabi Wahab Adam was a member, professors from the university. So there was a group we had to deal with that issue in Boko. And we used to go there several times to meet whatever type of thing. What was the issue? Everybody who presented side. The Kusasis claimed they lived there, whatever type of thing. The Mamprosis then are considered those who arrived later. But they arrived later with the chieftaincy system, which the Kusasis probably as of did not quite develop. But times have changed, and they say we now have developed it, and we have a chieftaincy that needs to be respected. And so, if the arguments are the same as we used to hear in those days, then it's one claiming you have never had a tradition of this, and now you claim you have the tradition of this. And they only say, yeah, if we didn't have it, we are the original ones, and now we do have it. So it's a question of probably recognizing and accepting. In itself, I think it's something, with a little bit of give and take, which is what every dialogue calls for, you can probably settle this. Unless people claim an absolute, a certain form of absolutism in this form of dialogue, it's either all or nothing. With either all or nothing, you don't make any breakthrough through anything. Otherwise, the moment you decide to get into negotiation or dialogue about anything, you accept, okay, to respect the other person's view, and so solution comes about compromises and all of that and that. To enter into anything like that with absolute position, trench whatever type of thing, and resort to power or violence to enforce whatever thing, is a sad thing. Be recognizing that the moment you cause harm to another, you create a basis for revenge. Okay, and then becomes a give and take and tit for tat, and so it perpetuates something which could have been settled, whatever. So that's what the Nkwanta case is also the same. Yeah. Over land. Okay, that's also whatever type of thing. So, I mean, so there's still the National Peace Council. I would encourage them to, to do whatever type of thing. If we can be of help, we're always available. But some of these things, we also developing our own thoughts and ideas about how we can be of help. Okay. And when the proper time comes, I think we'll make them public. Okay. In wrapping my interview with you, Ibagana, Abis Vandays Pa. It's when I mean to be room. So it's when I mean to be easily into. But even them crown also a difficult. And in the day, say yeah, both for where African markets will be a could be crappy benny, be kako crappy benny, I be benny, whatever. Yeah, I pay benny be very raised. But on I days you can see, and on your mass some cassette. Baby could be a nifty baby. Other somebody who has all the woods are Oma, what's in cum. Yeah. See, also she is there. Oh, yeah. Be okay. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. In this very difficult time, I'd like you to share a word to us as a country. Yeah. So, I think, every year I come home in August for a short vacation. I try to do 3 visits since I've been in Rome this past 15 years. So I come for Christmas, I come for Easter, to help some village celebrate, this night religious feast. So I go to a village without a priest, and I help them. But for August, I come for a short vacation. I never did expect to come into Ghana for vacation under this cloud of sadness and grief and, accident and disaster like that. Incidentally, since I came, I've not only heard about this chopper, helicopter crash, but also school bus and whatever, a lot of disasters. Interesting was that at the airport in Amsterdam, because I was coming from the United States, from Cincinnati. At the airport in Amsterdam, I met a couple of Ghanaians who were, so we chatted at the airport, then we boarded the plane. As soon as the plane took off, one of them came to me with his mobile phone to show me news about this helicopter crash. Okay, this was Wednesday, I think. So news of this crash. And so what could you do? Helicopter has crashed, and you are sitting in the plane yourself.